Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I'm trying something for the first time today, so I thought I'd bring you along with me. Now, if you're a regular viewer, I think a few weeks back, before I went down to Sussex for the bazaar event, the summer event, I bought myself this pink denim jacket from eBay. I think I paid just under 15 quid for it. Love it, I've worn it lots of times already. But my plan was always to paint a design on the back panel, and I decided I was going to be inspired by the beautiful design on my granny's china, and I brought one of the little mini teacups up just to show you the design. I did do some work inspired by this design in my colour inspiration journal. Back a few months ago now. Have I got that handy? Let me take you to my desk and I'll show you what I've been up to. Something's gone pear-shaped with my recording. I'm going to have to stop and start. Okay, I'm back. Weirdness going on there. Had to do a complete restart. Luckily Tom was about and helped me work out what was going on. So now I can get back to where was I? Just about to go to the desk. Hopefully I can do that this time. Ta-da! Well, it looks like a very strong cup of black coffee there. That's because it's a very strong cup of black coffee. So here was the my colour inspiration journal I was about to show you. And here is some work that I did, inspired by my granny's china at the time. I took colours from it as well, colours and images inspired by it as well. And I love this. Here's the actual cup. I just love this china. It's called Floral Booths. Very pretty. It's got this little gold element as well, which I might end up trying to bring into my jacket as well in one way or another. Possibly just adding in some sequins or something. Not sure yet. But at the moment, what I've done is I'll keep it that way on because I can't fit it all in otherwise. I just freehand drew the image. That's going to be that way up on the jacket. I didn't copy it exactly, I just took elements from it and changed it a bit just to fit into the general shape that I wanted. Then I traced it, turned over and scribbled on the other side of the tracing. I used some of this tracing paper that I got for making patterns. And then placed it on the back panel of my jacket and drew around it again. So this whole process took, well, the drawing took a whole evening, and then just the tracing and transferring the image process took another good couple of hours. But I quite like doing that kind of thing, so it wasn't a chore really. And this is where I'm at so far. Just traced it in, I've just used a fairly soft pencil, a 2B, and just traced it up to the back of the jacket. I'm going to have to rearrange a bit here in a minute to make enough space. I need to make sure that the other parts of the jacket are out the way, and the paint will kind of go through, so I've got a glass mat underneath, so that should be okay. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how that's looking so far, and I'm hoping the paints I'm using will just cover the pencil marks. I'm sure they will. So the paints I'm going to be using, quick slurp, I got these from Amazon, acrylic textile. Never used them before. If this is true, they sound really good. High quality pigments, bright and light resistant colours, fabrics, leather and suede, perfect for painting of elastic, natural and synthetic fibres. So in other words, if you wanted to paint it on a t-shirt, something where it's going to stretch, they should still be right. But I mean, this is going to be like painting on a canvas really. Creamy consistency to enable the paints to deeply penetrate but without over densifying the fabric. Not sure what that means. Apply on clean and dry fabric. Put something waterproof in between the fabric layers to prevent them. But yeah, I don't need to worry about that because I just need to make sure I don't kind of do this and have a bit of this underneath and get paint coming through on there. I just need to make sure I'm painting just on that one layer. And in the end I thought, well, you know, this jacket didn't cost me a massive amount of money, but I still wouldn't want to lose it. I love the jacket, but if this all goes horribly wrong, I can just do a patchwork of fabrics at the back I'll turn it into like I'll give it a little kind of Kawandi inspired back or something like that instead. So I'm not too worried at all about this. I'm hoping to stitch into it as well, stitch around some of the outlines, and in there, you can't really see it, I didn't trace it onto here, but you can see these lines in between. So I haven't transferred those because those are just going to be stitched. So I would probably draw those out in a heat erasable pen and stitch on them, and then when I use a hot iron to set the paints, it would also remove the guidelines. That's my plan, because that was to kind of echo this effect you see in the actual cup. You've got the design, and then in the background, doesn't want to focus on this shiny cup, there we go, in the background you've got that kind of dotted scallop design. So I thought I would do that just in straight stitching, pretty much the same colour pink, as near as I can find the same colour pink. So it's just a background detail, and that just a bit of texture, you know, and that I can carry over into other parts of the jacket as well, just for fun. And I might even have a little bit of floral detail or something coming out of one of the pockets or something like that, but that's for later. The thing I want to do at the moment, the scary bit is the painting. Scary but exciting. I picked this set because I thought it had a good range of colours, as well as the black and white. Let's have a better look. So yeah, so I've got a black and white and this kind of magenta colour. So looking at what's on the cup, that's a pretty good match for that large flower. I will need to put some white on as well, because this is going to be a bit different because the cup is a white background. I've got an orange, but I'll need to add a bit of red to it to make it this sort of more of a darker, the sort of deeper burnt orange really. Yeah, I've got these two different blues, but this is too strong of a blue. I will dull this right down, either with a little bit of this, or possibly I'll end up putting a tiny bit of orange, just because orange and blue are opposite on the colour wheel. If you put a tiny bit of the opposite colour, it just dulls down the intensity of the colour a bit. The green I've got here will need a lot of yellow added to it, so I will need to do a bit of colour mixing. The yellow will need to be deeper. I feel like it's nothing I can't cope with. So the scrolls are going to be in this kind of turquoisey colour. I think the only thing that's occurring to me is that I might wish I had more of the white, but possibly I could go on to Amazon and see if I could get some of the white on its own. I'll see how I go. I'm not sure how far this is going to go on the fabric, and this is quite a large design, isn't it? So I've got an assortment of brushes. I feel like I want something kind of stiffer than a watercolour brush. I feel like I'm going to want something reasonably stiff. This one might be a bit too floppy, but I just thought I might want that kind of movement of that brush. I'm not sure. This one's a really stiff brush, which I think is meant for stenciling. You would use like this, but I thought it could be handy for covering large areas. Not sure. This one's quite stiff, unusual shape. I've got one really small detailed one that I thought could be handy. I thought this kind of thing might be good just for getting into points. Not sure. So they're kind of what I've come up with. I've got a couple of pots of water, a large one and a smaller one for washing off my brushes and thinning down the paint a little bit if I need to. Oh, there's a couple other brushes hiding behind there. I'm hoping this one might be useful actually. I can imagine me using this one quite a lot. And then, now partly I'm using this, thought I'd show this because Claire 96 Bell was asking about stay wet palettes, and has anybody got any tips because they're so expensive. And I have. This is what I use. When I next meet up with Claire, I'm going to bring her one of these. So I ordered these because this has already been used. These are they're meant for sandwiches and canapes and things. They're what catering companies would use to deliver food to, for parties and things. So they got this pretty well airtight lid. Well, I'm sure it's not completely airtight, but it's pretty good. Really cheap. I bought a pack of 10 from Amazon for way less than the price of one of the Stay Wet palettes. And then previously I've used kind of semi-disposable J cloths. This time I'm going to use this manky old tea towel because it's going to be more reusable. And I've soaked this in water and then squeezed it out pretty much. Squeezed it as hard as I can. And I'm just lining the tray with this, and this is what will help to keep the paints wet and rolling. Because I do think if I have to put this away for a little while and come back to it, I don't want these paints drying out. So that is, I can't even feel the dampness through there, and you think to yourself, is that really going to work? But it really does. It's amazing. It does the same as the very expensive Stay Wet palettes. Just, it's not quite as neat, you know. The thing is with those, they charge you a lot for the palette itself, and it's really, the plastic of it is no different from this. And then they charge you extra, you know, you buy extra liners, you know, the pads at the bottom, and liners, which are just, this is just baking parchment. I think I used a kind of thicker, fairly good quality tracing paper once as well. So I'm going to use this, and then if I have to put them away and come back to it tomorrow, I'll put this on overnight and hopefully the paints will stay fine. I've done it with acrylic paints, obviously these are different. I've done it with acrylic paints and I've come back even like 2 weeks later and they're still really liquid. So yeah, which bit shall I do first? I kind of feel like, although it's the great big focal image and maybe it's a bit scary to start with that, that's almost the easiest colour to mix. I think I'm going to aim to work top left kind of downwards, to work top left and then towards the right to avoid leaning in my own work. So top left of my design, I've got these leaves, so I'm going to try and mix something like that kind of leafy green, and let's hope these paints are as good as they say they are. I reckon I'm going to want this green and then a bit of yellow added to it. That's what I'm thinking. I'm really hoping it will cover well in one coat as well, but it remains to be seen. Got a little bit of old rag there, really old towel or something that is. I've even used old knickers as paint bags. Never throw anything away. Let's go in with some of this green. I'm going to want quite a bit of it, but I'm thinking, you know, a little bit of green won't go. A little bit of green will go a long way compared to the yellow. I'm probably going to need quite a lot of yellow. And I'm not bothered about getting the colours exactly the same as on the cup, but that doesn't really matter to me. I just want it to be a pleasing shade of green. Let's do a little bit more yellow. And I might want a little bit of a deeper shade just to blend in around. I might want to blend it a bit while it's still wet, basically. Although on this they haven't, the leaves are all pretty much a flat colour, and then you've just got that black line detail, which I might do in paint, or I might end up bringing out my acrylic paint pens, because I have used them on fabric before and they've been fine. Okay, so now it's a question of, is the consistency of this paint going to be alright to paint straight on, or am I going to want to loosen it a bit? It feels quite nice and soft and creamy, so I'm going to go in with it like this. And this moment of first painting onto this jacket is going to be a bit scary, but as I say, if I'm not happy with it in the end, I can patch some fabric over it. It won't be wasted. My main worry here is that I don't want to get dobs of paint on other parts of the jacket, so I'm going to have to be really careful of that. Okay, let's go in, and I think while it's still wet I can paint some yellow into the leaf as well if I feel it's too much. Oh, it's going on beautifully. It feels lovely going on. Kind of feel like I want to blend in a little more yellow, so I'm going to try taking this straight out the jar and just doing this. Quite like that. The brush is a little bit soft. I could try using a bit stiffer one and scrub it in a little bit. And I think I want to have a little bit of the white handy as well. So what would it look like if I tried to blend in a bit of the white as well? Back to the green. Yeah, so I'm feeling like I can treat this, I can work on it almost like a canvas I can kind of blend straight onto the fabric. I need to take my time and be really careful because I don't want to be getting paint all over the shop. I need to stay calm, but I quite like that effect where I've ended up, although it's just a flat colour on the China design. For this, I think it's nice that it's darker towards the edges and lighter in the middle, and I seem to have plenty of time. It's not drying out super fast or anything. I've got plenty of time to blend it on there. So now I think this would be a ridiculously long video if I showed you every part of the process. So I think I will work through now and paint these couple of leaves. When I come back to start on a different colour, I'll show you a bit more, and I'll just sort of do some snippets along the way like that. And I hope you'll enjoy following the progress. If there's any kind of tips or problems along the way, I'll make sure and let you know. Share them with you, good or bad. There we go. I've done the background of those leaves. I might add some more highlights and lowlights to them later on. I found that what I needed to do with the green was just add a tiny bit of this red, beautiful shade of red actually. It's more pink than it looks on the camera there. Anyway, I did just a little touch of that just to dull the green back a little bit. And in the same way, I'm going to move on to this yellow flower now, just to take the yellow down a notch or two. I've put the opposite colour on the colour wheel to yellow, which is purple, and I've got this kind of magenta-y, kind of almost pinky purple colour. So I've put a touch of that, and that's just dulled the yellow down a little bit. I think with some of these I may want to go back over and do a second coat, or just, as I say, just add some highlights and lowlights. And I'm now thinking as I'm doing it that I would like to stitch all of the outlines. I think I would really enjoy doing that. You see, so if I had put this yellow on directly, it would be very lemony bright like that. So that just took putting that little touch of the purpley colour has just taken it down a notch. And again, I'm just going to keep blending it on the fabric. I've got my mixing palette off to my right here to try and make myself enough space, but sometimes I go and direct out of the pots as well. The paints do seem to be going quite a long way, which is a relief. So with this one, it's just kind of a uniform yellow ochreish sort of colour, that flower, but it's a little bit, there's a little bright patch just in the middle where the upper part of the petal would be. So I might even add a little bit of white in there as well, just to show that. And again, I could try doing that actually on the fabric. Oh, that's too wet now. Another little tip, I'm finding that where I get bits where it's quite hard to get it to go into the grooves in this fabric, there's a lot of kind of lines in this fabric, so where I want to get a nice sort of smooth line on the edge or whatever, I'm finding I'm watering down the paint quite a lot to enable me to get that coverage. So it will take longer to dry, but I'll get a neater kind of edge. So I'm doing that a little bit. But yeah, it's quite as long as I take my time, a mixture of mixing up on the palette and straight out the pot and blending on the fabric is working really well. So I've just blended out some white there. Oops, I went over there a little bit. And then I'm going to now take a little bit more of the yellow onto my palette and a touch of this purplish colour. Just to knock it back, deepen it. And because it's a kind of a red violet, isn't it, really, I suppose, so there's some red in it as well, so it will kind of orangify it. So yeah, that's what I want. It's making it more of an ochre colour, I suppose. And I think, like with, because basically it is an acrylic paint, if I'm not fully happy with it, I can just let it dry and paint over again. They seem to be giving me, it's given me quite a long blending time, and I've not added any medium or anything to this, but it's I'm just using water with it. It's given me quite a long workability time where I can sort of add in my highlights and different shades and things. So yeah, it's still quite damp there. So I'm going to carry on and work around all these petals like this. Where I had drawn a line there, I think that I will stitch in a yellow that kind of tones with this. So there'll just be a little detail, but it'll be a subtle detail. And as with all of my projects, I do love it when I can mix together different hobbies that I enjoy. So in this case, painting and stitching. So yeah, really enjoyed myself so far. Now the centre of this flower on the actual teacup is pretty much the same kind of colour as the scroll. Probably I'll finish this yellow flower and then I'll go on to the scroll, add the centre of the flower, and then I'll be onto this big one. I'll have got my hand in a bit by then. But yeah, it's going really well so far. I'm quite happy with it. There will be some bits, especially once it's dried up, that I'll probably want to go over. I can already see I'm going to want to touch up here probably, but I'm going to add the leaf veining in stitching as well. I think I was thinking I was going to either paint that in or do it with acrylic markers, but now I'm thinking stitching would be the way forward for me. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. Got that flower background done now, and I've mixed up, I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring this around and show you, just tentatively mixed up a couple of different shades that will be for the kind of aqua colour of the scroll. I just wanted one sort of deeper shade to give a bit of depth to the shapes. I have not mixed up very much of it yet. I'm going to use this first on the centre of this flower and see how they look, and then if I like it, I'll mix up some more and start on the scrolls. So this is the deeper one, and I feel like that's a bit leery really, but let's just try the lighter one as well. Yeah, so I feel like that's a little bit more vivid than I'm wanting. So I will do the same thing that I've done before. I'll carry on and finish the centre of this flower using these. I think it'll be right just for the centre of this flower, but for the scrolls I want to knock this back a little bit. So I will add the tiniest touch of orange, because again that's opposite on the colour wheel from that blue. And I might even need to add a bit of white as well, but chances are I'll blend that actually on the fabric. So I'm glad I tried this little bit first, because as I said, I think it's fine just for this flower centre. I'm going to be stitching over this bit anyway, so I don't think it's going to be a problem here. But I do want to get the right kind of colour for the scrolls, because they're quite big elements of my design. I love the scrolly shapes. It's one of my favourite bits of the design on this china. Funny enough, I've got all those brushes out and I'm ending up more or less just using this one. What I can't do with this one very well is sort of scrub it into the fabric, but if I go with the direction of the grain of the fabric is running this way. So if I go in that direction, it enables me to get the paint to go into all the little grooves. And like I said just now, for doing the edges, for getting the edges a bit smoother, I can just water the paint down a bit more, and I might have to do another coat of that, but that sort of lets me get a much smoother edge. Yeah, so that would be, I think I probably will blend some white in directly on this. Just want to get a base layer on all of the petals the same, because I can't guarantee getting this colour exactly the same again. This is going quite quickly, so I don't think I'm going to be making much use of my Stay Wet palette this time. I think it's helping to keep the paint workable on my palette while I'm using it. It's going to be altogether lairier than than the lovely delicate pattern on my granny's china, but I think it's going to be, the connection will be there. Once I've done these scrolls, the next thing will be this huge flower in the middle. Ooh. I'll do a little bit of that on camera, and then I will finish the rest of the painting part off camera and come back and show you how it went, because it's kind of more of the same really, and then I'll show you a bit of the stitching and stuff, and also I'll do the ironing thing. Apparently if you aren't able to iron it, they suggest use a hot iron, and you have to iron it for 5 minutes, which is, bearing in mind that they want 5 minutes on each section. That's going to take me quite a while to do the ironing, but they do suggest that if you can't iron it for whatever reason, you can put the whole thing, the whole garment, in a 120-degree oven for 20 minutes instead, which I could try. But yeah, probably what they suggest you do is when you iron it, you put a cloth or piece of paper or something in between as well. I'll probably use a little piece of my craft iron did come with a protective cloth thing, so I might use that and a piece of paper. I don't want to wreck the iron. Yeah, this is now starting to dry up. I'm hoping it will still be nice and flexible. They say it's okay on stretch fabrics, so let's have a look at the back. Oh look, it's not coming through the back either, which is quite surprising. That's where you can see the little marks there. It's the water coming through. So yeah, I'm surprised at that. I thought that would come right through. Real. Okay, so I'm going to mix up some colour for these scrolls now. Just started filling in this scroll shape. I just started by filling in the whole shape, and now I've added a bit more white to the mixture, so I can just bring a couple of highlights in. Give that shape a bit more depth. While I've got this here, I may as well just tidy these up. So yeah, by mixing a bit of yellow with this colour, which looks more turquoisey in real life than it does there, but I put a bit more of the yellow in with it, a touch of the orange to dull the whole thing down, and then some white to lighten it up, and then more white again to get that sort of highlight bit there. And I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, I'm going to do the same thing again with this scroll, and then I'll be on to the pink flower, and I'll show you a little bit of that, and then I'll come back when I've finished the painting part. I have finished with those scrolls for now. I may end up doing some lighter parts later on. I'm going to carry on in the way I'm going at the moment, but I have a feeling I might end up wanting to do some lighter areas on both the scrolls and the leaves. Anyway, I've now mixed up some of this purpley magenta. Do you know, the one thing I really hate about these bottles is that, and I think it's for recycling reasons, they make it so the tops are hinged onto the bottles, and it just means you can't take them off properly out of the way, so they get all gunky and horrible, and that is so annoying me. Apart from that, very, very impressed with these paints. I dropped in just a tiny bit of the red because I felt it needed to be slightly redder, and what I will do is add more of the red, and possibly a touch of green to deepen the colour there, where it's sort of, you know, that area that would be darker. And then I'm going to blend in some white at the edges as well. And I think I'll have to kind of leave where these lines are, I'm going to have to kind of leave a gap there and fill it with stitching, because otherwise I won't be able to see where those lines are in a minute. So I think that's the only way I can see to do it. So we'll see how it goes. Well, I've already gone wrong, because that should have been white really there, not pink, but that's okay. I've gone onto this little strange pointy brush now, which I've forgotten what it's called. It's not a filbert, it's kind of a bit like a filbert, but is it called a cat's tongue or something? Got it in a scrawler box once. It's a very handy little shape for all sorts of things. I thought it might be useful for going into it, but I think it's a little bit too soft actually, this brush. I might go back to my one I've been using all the way through. Just thought it was worth a try. So what I'm thinking I'll do here is just go straight into the pot of the white, blend it on the fabric like I did with the leaf before. And where I did that, I made that boo-boo just now and went up to the edge with the pink, so I've now done a little coat of white over it. I may, once this is dry, I may want to go back in and just go over that again in white, but we'll see how it goes. I have to say, if I was painting on a smoother fabric surface, this would be an absolute dream to use this stuff. The only thing that's hard work about it is having to go into the kind of grooves in the fabric, because it is quite a coarse fabric. But yeah, and in the design on the china, the lines radiating out on the petals are actually in a deeper shade of the pink, so I could use a deeper shade of pink thread to do that. I think I might even introduce, like in the centres of the flowers, some little beads, and to add some beading in. I think that would be fun. Yeah, so I'm going to carry on like this, and I think I've probably recorded enough of this basic painting part, so I'll be back now, I think, when the painting's done. Here we go. So I've done quite a bit more work on this. I've decided I'm going to finish this video here, because otherwise it's just going to get too long, and then I'll finish the painting off camera, and next time I'll come back and do some stitching, and I might also do some of the stitching on my next WIP and Waffle Wednesdays. I'll tell you about that in a second. So yeah, this is actually the next morning. So this is thoroughly dried now, so I thought it might be interesting to come back and just show you how it's looking. There's a little bit of stiffness to it, but I'm interested to see, just use a pin here a minute, how, yeah, that's going to be fine to stitch through. I thought it might be a bit tricky to stitch through. Yeah, that's okay, that's fine, that's going to be fine. Because all of the sort of that line detail, I think I'm going to do in stitching now. And I think I'll use perhaps something like a pale, like a dark grey rather than a black, to do to outline some of these pieces. Just feel like they want a bit of an outline, but I don't think black. It kind of looks like on the scroll it's very black looking, isn't it? But yeah, I think maybe I'll go for like a charcoal grey, something like that. See how that looks, just to add the outline. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it's going. The paints were lovely to use. There is loads left. My only quibble with them is, like I said earlier, I've ended up getting paint all over the place there, and that's partly because they're attached here. So I think what I might end up doing is cutting off this attachment piece so that I can fully remove the tops and use the paints more easily, because they really do, the lids get in the way. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is carefully cut these attachment bits off, and if I get more of these paints I'll do that before I even start using them next time. I can see why they do it. I think it's for recycling purposes, because they want them the same as they do with water bottles and things now, but it's really annoying. But I mean, other than that, the paints themselves are lovely. Of course, I don't know yet how well they're going to stand up to washing and things, but I will keep you posted on that. Once all this painting is done, I'll set it with a hot iron, and I'll let you know how that goes as well. I had a couple of accidents here. Look, I've got a bit of orange on there. I have a couple of different options there. I could decide to introduce a butterfly or something. I could even applique a little piece of print fabric to create a butterfly, something like that. I could dot some sequins around and take them up here. I could even try mixing up this colour and just paint over it. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not too worried about it. I've managed not to get it anywhere else. Oh, and the other thing I thought would be interesting is to see what the back's looking like. So you can see it has come through a bit, but not as much as I'd expected. Not that I'm too worried. When I come to do my stitching, I'm going to make more of an effort to make the reverse of my stitching neat than I usually would, because obviously it is going to be seen. So I'll do it the proper way, where you start with a knot off away from the work and come up and then cut that off later. But anyway, we can go into all that when I come back for the next video. So yeah, let's hold this up, try and get the thumbnail now. Yeah, really happy with that so far. For the first time I've ever done anything like this. I'm very impressed with these paints. I'll try and remember to leave a link to the paints, although as I say, I can't yet speak as to how well they're going to stay put through washing, but for ease of use, and if you were using them on something that you're not going to end up washing, I would thoroughly recommend them. So I'm sitting in my PJs, sorry. So I will carry on and finish painting this off camera, and then I'll come back and show you some of the stitching in another video, and I will also carry on working on it on Wednesday. So I'm now doing a weekly chilled live stream, not like our hectic arty-farty parties, which are a lot of fun but are quite hectic. The WIP and Waffle, so WIP is work in progress, WIP and Waffle Wednesdays are altogether more chilled. They're about chatting with people in the live chat and just working on something. And last Wednesday was the first one. It went really well. I think everybody enjoyed it, and I think we all felt like we'd been to a crafting day, with a crafting session with friends, which is something I really miss doing. So yeah, so join us for that if you can. It's not a time that's going to suit everybody, unfortunately. It's impossible to find a time that suits everybody. From 2 PM to 4 PM UK time every Wednesday. And it will be there to replay afterwards, although of course you can't join in the live chat then, but if you just wanted to watch along and craft along with this, then you're very welcome. And I shall be working on all kinds of half-started projects like this, so do feel free to bring along your own, or just settle down and enjoy the live chat with us. You can also share pictures of whatever you're working on in the live stream follow along room in our Discord community or in the Facebook group, and I'll put my link tree in the description box to this video so that you can find your way. You can find links to the Facebook group and Discord. They're all free and really friendly places, so yeah, I do encourage you to join it if you haven't already. What I'll do is I'll also put a link to the next WIP and Waffle Wednesday so you can go along there now and set a reminder if you would like to. Okay, that's it from me. I better go and get showered and dressed now. Busy day ahead. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. Enough waffle. Save that for Wednesday. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye. Let's stop with